Welcome to Fright Night, for real. I'm your host, Kane, and today we're going to be looking at the 1985 vampire classic, Fright Night. But we're also going to be looking at the remake of Fright Night from 2011. Here's the thing. Fright Night is a bona fide classic in the horror genre. If you're a fan of 80s horror, if you're a fan of horror in general, most of the time, people will tell you Fright Night is a great vampire movie. And it is. I love the original Fright Night. That said, most horror fans will tell you that a remake is never as good as the original. I tend to agree with that. However, Fright Night gets an asterisk to me. And I'll tell you why. It's because, to me, it's one of the few remakes that is as good as the original. At least in my opinion. It's just my opinion, but that's where I stand on the matter. But I want to talk about some of the differences and why I think both movies stand up really well. First and foremost, both movies have absolutely outstanding cast. William Ragsdale in the original, Anton Yelchin in the remake, Jerry Dandridge, Chris Sarandon as Jerry Dandridge in the original, versus Colin Farrell as Jerry Dandridge in the remake. Then you've got Peter Vincent, played beautifully by Roddy McDowall in the original, and David Tennant, freaking the Doctor from Doctor Who, in the remake. Evil Ed was my favorite character in the original, still my favorite character in the remake, played in the remake by Christopher Mintz-Plasse, McLovin himself. The cast is absolute. Stephen Jeffries, that's the name of the actor that played Evil Ed in the original. Sorry, my brain's everywhere right now. Point is, both casts absolutely wonderful. I love these movies. Can't say enough good things about both the original and the remake. It is rare that you're able to look at the cast alone and go, wow, such an interesting cast, such great performances. The thing I love about the original is the original goes back to a place that, in a way, no longer exists. It exists in the world of midnight movie hosts on late night TV, where they're showing old B movies that anyone could license. And you've got Peter Vincent, a vampire hunter extraordinaire, who hosts these movies and puts on this persona of the vampire hunter extraordinaire. So, what's young Charlie Brewster to do when he suspects his new neighbor Jerry Dandridge may in fact be a vampire? Well, he calls up a vampire hunter, Peter Vincent, who is asked by his friends, his girlfriend and his best friend, to just play along and maybe Charlie will drop the whole thing. So, they play along. Turns out, Charlie was right about it the entire time. The biggest difference between the original and the remake, to me, is that midnight movie hosts, for the most part, unless you're talking about like Svengoolie, who's been on the air since like forever, they've gone the way of the dodo. They don't really exist anymore. As a result, you now have to think, well, how are they going to bring Peter Vincent's character into this remake? And they do it in a really imaginative way. They say, well, who could potentially be a vampire hunter today? How about a not a musician. How about a magician a la David Blaine or Chris Angel? And you know what? It works. It works really well. Way better than it should, in fact. And the thing that I love about the remake of Fright Night is they got Marty Noxon, I hope I'm saying that name right, who was a writer. She was a writer on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I think Angel too. And I said, oh my God, it's kind of perfect because the humor in the Fright Night remake reminds me a lot of the humor from Buffy, which I talked about earlier this month. So you can see why the remake of Fright Night is held in such high regard from me. It's because this remake, while being respectful to the original, does its own thing in just enough way to be different and fun. The original Fright Night, while classic, does have a couple of moments, for me, that feel just a little bit stilted, like you wish they'd had a little bit bigger budget to get away with this effect better. I understand it would take away from some of the charm of the films and the low budget nature of the original. However, the remake obviously had something of a budget to work with because the majority of the effects look really good in this 2011 film. Again, it's like comparing two apples. Both are delicious. Both are going to, give you the apple flavor you like. The difference is, do you like Golden Delicious or do you like Fuji? I really love both the original and the remake of Fright Night, and I'm hoping that maybe, based on the strength of this review where I've talked about the strengths of both films, you'll want to check it out this Halloween. I'm Kane, and I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you did, don't forget to click that like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And of course the bell notification so you know every time Kane has a new video going up. And remember, you're so cool, Brewster. If you don't know the reference, you definitely need to check out Fright Night. And I'll see you at the video store.